off. Dardes first on the scene, but gets hit by a wall hammer. Haddix straight to the sky. Reset on the FG, though, coming out from Ravens here, as they're going to take the fight and look for Mike. Mike will keep himself sustained as long as he can with a good shell. Dunk comes in as Nika gets a 3-man stun. Chases on towards Veneno on the backside, and they will find the kill on Veneno. Next on the list is going to be Barracuda, and Barracuda falls down too. Scream does at least take down Polar Bear Mike in this, as Hurricane chases onto Lasbury, but he's all alone. Haddix and Scream out of the fray, and Hurricane doing what he can, but Lasbury will find the kill on Hurricane. And now it's just two technical frontliners left alive. Scream has to bead and loses half his health to the damage out from the Athena. What a good deal expected so far. Nika over on the right-hand side up against Haddix in this solo lane, I should say. Anything specific about the matchups that you want to see more of this game, Bobby, or you expect to happen here?
I mean, I think solo's a farm it out lane. I don't see either team particularly wanting to play around. Maybe if Haddix hammers and Laz is on that side of the map, they also have the Athena for rotation if it is that such an open play. But I mean, you're not ganking an Amma with the CC of Kama, and you don't have enough damage off just the lockdown of Thor. So I expect this to be kind of like last game, where the solo laners just farmed out, started proxying, started rotating over. And you know, the Ravens, they like playing around Beacon. So that's you know a fight is going to be happening there with these two solo laners. They want to rotate to that fight.
Well, we'll see them later on around the 12-minute mark when that happens. Speaking of Scream, though, on the Kamazots this game too, when we look at the composition and the fact we've got an Athena mid lane, the only real gankable lane for the Kamazots then is that duo lane, I guess, if he's going to camp the lane. Or is it better to do what he's doing here, which is invading, getting ahead, and continuing to power farm to the late game?
I think this is what you want from a lot of your junglers nowadays. Ganking the side lanes is something that's always an opportunity, but you should be looking to fight on camps. That should be where you want to rotate to. Fighting in a lane just gives them an opportunity to run back to tower, and if you drop the kill, you're not getting anything of value. If you drop the kill while playing around purple buff, you still get the win of the purple buff.
As we approach 5 minutes, and then it's only the first blood separating these two teams in terms of gold at the moment as Jade Dragons are ahead. Lasbury and Scream meeting on the right-hand side of the map here for the shield buff towards here. Nika in frame 2 just to make sure they secure it for themselves. And meanwhile, the supports, I should say, dancing around the Gold Fury area at the moment. No real surprises so far.
I think something I want to touch on is Scream being level 5. A Kama behind might be one of the worst junglers that you can possibly have. They also don't have a ton of easy characters for the Jade Dragons to be killed by this Kama. He is level 6. He's only got his Jotuns. He needs to get a little bit more farm, or maybe just pick up an assist or a kill somewhere before he becomes really useful. And then you compare it to Lasbra. Lasbra got that first blood. He's already in a great spot. He almost has his Soul Eater finished. I think that is probably the spot that the Jade Dragons want to play around, is Lasbra spikes.
We'll keep an eye on Lasbra and what he chooses to do with the team. Especially Dardes in the mid lane. We saw that first blood go down, so there's always going to be an opportunity for a dash taunt opportunity on either the jungler or the mid lane if they rotate through, or even the supports when we get to that point. Hurricane piloting the Charon so far. How you felt about Charon so far? Obviously, performances, Bobby. He's not won a game so far, I should say. Is that the God issue? Is that the playstyle issue that teams having to develop to? Or what's the reason? Is he good?
He is definitely good. What he does is his neutral game is just unstoppable. By neutral, I mean just that ability to play...
1 second, leap in from Vote, right in front of Hurry. We need him carries there. Lasbury was rotating around the back, and Barracuda explodes in seconds. Beautiful rotation. And Bobby, you were just asking that. Expect to play through Lasbury.
I mean, Laz has now got 2 kills. He doesn't even have to use the ult to kill. That's how far ahead he is. He can just hit him with the 1 Pyroclast, I think is what it's called. 1 Pyroclast.
Don't worry about
basically
names. What would you call it?
Pyroclast.
That's his name now.
That's its name
Hopefully it's right. So Pyroclast does go off there and get the kill for him. But you literally dictated, hey, we want to see aggression. But look at the trust that, look at it, you were right. I'm so proud of you. Doug's shouting to follow up for that. But in that dual lane, when we saw that fight there, look at the trust Anher had, Vote had in his jungler. He went aggressive into 2, knowing he had backup coming.
It's the call of get his dash out, you get his dash out, I'll kill him. Exactly how it lays out. And actually, Vote got a lot of damage off before Barra could even get his dash off, which was phenomenal by Vote.
Ganking mid lane from Polar Bear. Mike putting some pressure on towards Veneno. Hard to follow from the Athena taunt, and the taunt is there. Onto Veneno, who's bursting again for Lasbury to get another kill. This Pele is a problem.
Beads now down on the new wall against a comp that really does punish Beads being down. I mean, Athena's got Blink still available too. I would expect this Nuwa to be punished at least 1 more time before those Beads are up. And maybe look at this Gold Fury. This is around the time, especially when you're up almost 1,500 gold. This is the time you want to look for those Gold Furies.
And talking about that with the Beads being down too, is the right opportunity, right? To try and get aggressive, force them into that avenue too. Meanwhile, I was concerned about Dragon's damage composition throughout this game. Will they have the damage into the 4th run? If Lasbury's doing what he's doing now, though, that will help them out and feel confident about the fact that they're lacking a bit of damage in the other roles specifically, or at least consistent damage. Nika trying to invade the blue buff on the right-hand side. We'll go over to Haddix with Scream support there. But so far, the pace of this game has all been dictated by this Pele. What is it that's brought Pele back, by the way?
Realistically, I think it just comes down to our flex potential. I don't think the buffs were that big, but it kind of puts you back on the front of your mind of,
you think about them
this
again?
is a good character. The buff to the gas she gets from hitting abilities or hitting gods with her ones really does give her that ability to power farm in the lanes. So it helps her in solo mid, and then that just opens up this brand new world of, oh, Pele can play jungle, she can play solo, she can play mid. We've already seen a mid Pele. We've actually not seen solo Pele, which seems a little more surprising, but it is there.
Well, Nika this time going to be piloting the AMATERASU with this composition. And something we don't see too often. It depends how the meta's really going in the solo lane for the most part, in terms of are you getting pressured consistently? And I guess against the Thor, it's not too bad.
She also got her buff, the buff to her one, giving the attack speed. And realistically, I think the buff to her passive also, that extra second, it allows her to hit the objective and then walk away to zone.
Well, hold that thought. Mike ganking onto Horrywind here seems to be the focal target as Lasbra follows up with a good knock up there too. Immediately, Horrywind going to use the ultimate to disengage from that fray as well. Has Meditate still. With Scream being on the scene, this is a small win if you can get this camp for the Ravens, or maybe not. Lasbra secures the shield buff, and Polar Bear Mike still dashing on in towards Scream.
That comes from him just being so far behind. He's got an item at 9 minutes into this game, and he's going into that Soul Leader, which isn't going to spike as hard as a flat pen item. Exactly. So Scream is super weak right now. You have a Nua with no beads for another 30 seconds. Again, I want to see these guys fight.
Scream doing a good job, though, of holding on to his ultimate there. The Nua ult did come through from Venenu just to give some vision and support to the rest of the team. That's all he can really do is a Nua there, to be honest. But main thing is Scream wasn't forced to ult away. Left-hand Harpies have respawned here and will be taken by Polar Bear Mike and the following up team. Vote a level ahead over Barracuda so far, mainly down to that kill that they got in the lane. But more importantly, Barracuda on the Jibba long K this game, Bobby. He's picked up the Assy first item. I've seen a lot of talk about Hunter builds as of late, no chins, etc. But Assy first, how do you feel?
I like personally Aussie and Devs, dependent on what your build is looking to do and what your comp needs to do. X-Ball, no attack speed in his kit, so he's opting for that Aussie. I assume he's going to build a lot of crit, and he's not going to have a ton of attack speed, so he opts for the Aussie. Vote, I hope he does go for that more pen-oriented build.
Yeah.
Because he needs to be able to kill the tanks. They don't have any other tank killer on the team. Athena, not killing tanks. Alma, not killing tanks. Pele, too. He needs to be the one killing the tanks. If Haddix is going in, Vote needs to be the one killing him.
So keep an eye and see if Vote can do that. Meanwhile, blinking mid lane once again from Lasbra, and another kill this time. Polar Bear Mike credited with the kill, and this Athena mid combo with Pele is working out well because now there's a gank in the duo lane too. Dardes turns up, finds the blink, gets the beads out from Barrett early, still has the taunt for follow-up, and Dardes credited with his first kill of the game.
I now know why they put Dardes on this Athena. These plays that he is making, phenomenal. He makes the play in mid, he holds out, they pull Nua beads. Nua beads is then immediately as she's dying, he ults over to the duo lane, pulls beads before taunting, gets the taunt off, and gets another kill.
I just said all that, you just repeated me.
Well, I just wanted emphasis. I wanted emphasis on it because it was such a good play.
And this comes back to the composition Ravens have drafted. I mentioned a lack of CC in a weird way. There's not a whole ton. I love Kara myself, but I don't think he brings enough to help peel at this stage of the game across the map the way that the Dragons are playing this. You've got a Nua and a Kamazots. What are they going to do to help? Nua can only really ult and hope for the best that's going to help in some way.
His peel is very strong against characters that don't burst super hard.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Jade Dragon, yes, exactly. When you look at the Jade Dragon comp, they have so much burst if Lasbra commits to the fight. And I think so far, I mean, he's obviously done it well. He's 3-0-1.
Working well. I think the biggest play there was Dardes, though. His notion of getting the kill in mid and immediately going, we could also get one in dual lane because we know there's probably a rotation there for support. Mike and Horrywind going to trade it off in the jungle a little bit here. Level 10 for Mike at the moment. Has his Thebes online. And now the Emperor's armor. Meanwhile, Horrywind went for the Prophetic Cloak this time. Still working on the stacks. You think Prophetic's a trap, or is it still good?
I think some characters it's really good with. I think Karen is one of them. I do think this double stack build, though, is a bit of a trap for some players. When you're so far behind and you're going for this Thebes second, you're opting into 2 items that just give you tankiness.
Yep.
You need something that just does something outside of that at this point.
Double taunt in mid lane then from Dardes as the beacon did go in the way of the Dragons. Chases on towards Horrywind as the walls collapse down, but no further follow-up damage. The Dragons don't want to overextend into the jungle there with nothing being available for them. Instead, they're going to continue to farm up here. About a 3k gold lead developing, and now a Dardes gank to the left. Horrywind has sensed this, so the duo lane should know. Desert Fury and Taunt off the mark. The shield buff goes down, but Vote did pick that up at least with that Desert Fury. Now Polar Bear might get aggressive against Horrywind again. Low on mana is Horrywind here. Has to use his ultimate to buy some time from the knockup. But he's still going to go down because his carries can't really support him in that area. 5 members strong here, Bobby, for the Dragons. Now looking at this Gold Fury.
And it should be just a free Gold Fury. Maybe Scream looks for a steal, but you have Nika doing extra damage to it. His entire team's here. And you're not killing the Ama at this point. This Highland Raven teams is kind of on the back foot right now, and they need some mistakes or just some really, really good macro to kind of get back into this game.
And what do you think is the playback of this? If you're in this game right now, Bobby, and no offense, you've been in this spot a few times where you were down quite a few kills, right? I mean, it would say 0-7 or something like that at that point for you, right? But what would you be saying to the team here? What is the avenue back into this game? Just farm and play safe, or?
Guys, I need some peel. I can't die an 8th time. That's what I would be saying. I'd be begging for not that double-digit death.
But then you'd be like, well, we didn't draft any peel. We don't have much CC to really support what we're supposed to do. You see Dardis in the mid lane there just uses ultimate defensively that time around. Shows the survivability this Athena can bring. And actually, the Ravens are looking at this Pyromancer here, Bobby, to try and return the flow of the game a little bit. This is something you would be hoping for if you're a Ravens fan.
It's a good play by the Ravens. You force out the Athena. Athena ult also goes down. You know Athena can't be in this fight at that point. Take your free Pyro. It's a good play to kind of get you back into that game and kind of, you know, start crawling back.
Crawling back. Well, left-hand side, you saw Vote leap over the wall there at the buff and will be stripped away with the help of Lasbra just to deny Barracuda a little bit more farm. And you can see the lead starting to develop in the duo lane now. Barracuda level 12, Vote at 40.
I really want to see this Jade Dragons team start to look for these towers. There's 3,000 gold about difference right now, and there is every tier 1 available on the map. That is 1,500 gold just sitting there, just waiting to be taken. And I think a lot of teams delay the tier 1 towers too much, especially when you can snowball the game so hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, so far this week, we've seen a couple more of these towers get taken quicker. But previous seasons, previous times, we've not seen that happen. What is the reason we're seeing this adaptation to faster towers these days?
I think there's not as much gold on the map, and there's a lot more comeback mechanics, so it's just risky that you're committing to this tower where if you don't get it, you're just, you know, over-committing essentially.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, now that there's less comeback mechanics, you know, the chests just got nerfed. These towers are a lot of your gold, and if you get this tower and they don't, that is just a big swing that you can look to push even farther.
It does give, you know, a bit of a map advantage, though. If you lose a tower, you can position the minions a bit more safely on your side in some ways. But if I'm looking at a tower, if I'm the Dragons here, mid screams to me as the target point, just because Nuwa, like, further back is not going to be as impactful.
Exactly. I think you touched on that perfectly. It's got to be the mid lane tower they look at first.
My chair 2 just said something nice about me. I'm not used to that. You're going to get some
I'm good at this.
Yeah. I think I did a good job hiring you, I guess, with this IB. 3-on-3 in mid lane for the first time so far this game, I want to say, because for the most part it's been 3v2s, 3v1s as the grouping starts to begin again, mainly because the beacon is on its way to spawning soon, and that's the only real objective of the map. How do you like the beacon, Bobby? Is it a good fight point for you? Do you think it's a good idea?
I think the current one where they gave it power and now it goes twice is a lot better. That 1% movement speed stacking 3 times was something, but I think it was just, you kind of would just give it up. I think beacon currently, where if you get all these beacons and you start stomping, that's 6% power.
Blink in mid from Dardis finds Venenu again. Around the back was last, but the beads and acres have already been used. But Venenu did a good job of juking with the peel out from Horrywind to survive. And now turnaround is fair play. Lasper still gets hold of Venenu, though, who came back into the fray to keep the action going. Dardis trying to ult away from danger and will do so towards Vote on the left-hand side. And with Haddix's rotation here, the chase could still be on. But I don't think they'll find anything else. That was the Dragons overextending, going for the kill. And Bobby, you said they want that, the Ravens, in their composition.
And I think if Ven doesn't disrespect the damage that Pele does there, it comes out even better. But he got greedy. I think he thinks at that point, if I get that kill, I am in a huge spot. This game is perfectly fine for us. And I mean, that's that kind of greedy mage that you want. You want your mids getting the kills because they just use gold so much better than everyone else. So I respect it a little bit. I do think you just give that to just about anyone and you're feeling a lot better, especially because there's not a ton of stuff on the map right now. That death doesn't mean too much. Gold's not up, Pyro's not up, maybe a tier 1 tower, but I mean, these tier 1 towers haven't been falling too fast, so it's not something that teams worry about too much.
I think the biggest thing on that, though, Lasbra was 5-0-1 there, but it was Lasbra that falls down, and Scream getting the kill has brought him back to an even point now. Build a little bit further behind, though, in terms of itemization, but this is bringing the Camazots back in once more.
Yeah, and even with that, I think no longer is the Pele the important player on this Dragons team. I think it now goes to Mike versus Hurry. Mike is however much XP, 100 XP off of being level 15, and support starters are the biggest spike you can get around this type.
Crazy bit of a fight developing here. Scream leaps away from the damage out from Pele. Haddix is in the sky right now, but he came back down pretty early, actually. And the grouping is around this beacon where Highland Ravens, after that one pick, have now turned this around and getting aggressive themselves. Barracuda swinging for the fences towards the frontline tanks as the rest of the Ravens do a very good job of securing the beacon. Apologies, Haddix didn't use his ult. He's using it now. It's on Polar Bear Mike. Separated and alone and will be a casualty. And this could also now be a goal fury for the Ravens.
Such a weird decision by the Dragons. They don't defend the beacon, and they send Laz out left, and then they defend it after Laz commits.
Nika going to go in with the ultimate. Athena follow-up 2 to try and secure, but the Primal Fury was reset. Dragons still secure the Gold Fury, however, and Dardes and Nika walk away in a 4v5 scenario. They did use a lot of ults, though, the Ravens, to get to that point, but they didn't do a good job of protecting it.
I mean, you don't have great secure on this Ravens comp. Nua's fine,
sure,
but she has no relics, so she doesn't really want to play up too far. I don't even know what stole it, reach or something like that. It wasn't any big damage source. It was just more of an unlucky thing. I like calls like that where we should get this 90% of the time. If we don't get it, darn, shoot, go. It's fine.
Is that what you say in the comms? Darn,
darn,
shoot.
We lost it, guys.
Okay.
Bummer.
Good to know. Well,
but I like those calls.
Pyromancer is available now, and it could be a big swinging point because the gold deficit is only 3,000 at the moment. The last couple of moments of action from the Ravens has been a lot more productive than, in my opinion, the first 15. And as Bobby's scared down on the screen, pinging me right now, like pointing at it,
I was just
Compassion
like,
just locked in.
That's just me. I'm saying, like, I'm talking about this next.
Yeah.
We've got Compassion to finish on Mike. Supports finish their starters faster than anyone else. And this is the biggest start you can have, or biggest spike you can have at this point in the game. Mike is now an entire Compassion deep, and Hurry's still only 2 unstacked items deep. The strength difference between these supports is huge. They have to get to grouping, and they need to start looking for this tier 1 tower in mid, and this Pyro. Push your lead.
Push your lead, indeed. I mean, 3-level deficit in the support. Surely, most of the time supports are 2 levels down, but I agree, the power spike to that 15 point for that start relic so impactful. So we were looking for the Dragons to try and take this game by the scruff of the neck now, take down some of these towers. At the moment, it looks like everyone's just farming, though. They did get a tier 1 on the left-hand side, however, so they did start some of that momentum going, but with the Emperor's armor, that's where you want to see him go some more.
I was just going to touch on that. Mike built his Emperor, so I thought that meant we're diving and we're getting these towers. They've not killed any tower. That was just Vote taking that tower kind of, or actually it was not even Vote, it was Laz splitting over there. It was just Laz taking that tower. Group and just push middle. I think it's just like this worry of this could be a throw by us if we commit here. Do we want to dive?
We don't want to make it even again by making a mistake. Yes. Pyromancer started and secured by Jade Dragons. Horrorwind was on the scene, didn't have much of a support with him though, because you can see Haddix was in base at the same time on the left-hand side. They were ganking actually as Haddix teleports in, looking for Lasbra. Scream already on the way, but Dardes, beautiful wall from Haddix, will prevent an exit strategy, but now Haddix is up and down. Dardes was dunked on, but the focus was still on Lasbra, who will blink away. Now Dardes surrounded and alone. Needs some help from Lasbra on the follow-up. Will get the beads and the ultimate out of Scream as he dives the tower. Lasbra getting very low. He's not as tanky on that mid-lane mage build. Sorry, I should say Lasbra going to fall down as Dardes now tries to go back in. Follow up from Vote, but round the back comes Horrorwind, trying to protect his teammates and give him some extra control. Bit of a weird skirmish on this side as mid lane there's a fight. Tier 1 tower's already gone down in favor of the Dragons as now Vote will fall to Scream. A crazy weird fight in mid lane. Barracuda gets a tier 1 and now he might even get another kill towards Polar Bear Mike, who'll use the walls defensively. What's going on, Bobby?
They're just taking fights everywhere. This Athena is being utilized with their ult. Unfortunately, that was a defensive ult while Laz ulted out. So you're down 2 ults in this 2v2, and then you just get Dove. Karon also rotates over with Vote. But this is, I mean, Karon's really strong at that point. They didn't have a ton of damage over there, so that shield was huge. They couldn't even break through it. And, I mean, big fights all around. Venena's not really worth all that much either, so that's a huge swing for the Ravens.
That's a huge swing indeed. I mean, tier 1 tower down being in mid and left-hand side from the Ravens. We were talking about we wanted to see the Dragons on aggression here, and its turnaround is fair play. Was Lasbra out of position there on the left-hand side in your opinion? Was it a bit too greedy? Because he did get pinched. It did cost him a teleport and a lot from the Ravens, though, to try and get over there.
I think it's a miscommunication, actually. I think Laz should feel super comfortable being over there if his Athena ult is up and they had eyes on everyone else, like they did.
Yeah.
I think Laz needs to hold that ult, and then if he gets committed to, you can ult with the Athena ult.
Was it more communication of, like, Athena coming in, but we're playing defense, not offense instead? Or?
Well, it was either a miscommunication or just Dardes thought Laz was in a little bit more trouble than he was. So yeah. So maybe he just ulted in immediately, and Laz is like, don't ult over, I'm ulting out. And then they just waste both the ults and got nothing kind of out of it.
Gold Fury has respawned, or should I say it's an Oni Fury this time round at 22 minutes in. The Oni Fury can be useful at this stage of the game just to get some pressure along this map, force people to lanes here. If Ravens get it with those tier 1 towers being down, and that tier 2 did get whittled quite a bit, Ravens could be in a better position here to start setting something up themselves. They've done a good job of holding into this game at the moment as Nika is trying to bring down the tier 1 in mid. But at the moment, I feel pretty good from a Ravens fan based off how this game started.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely feeling comfortable, especially with that absolutely terrible early game that the Dragons
Still a big dive on this left-hand side. My apologies, Bobby, as Lasbro will get away with the Darda's ultimate too, but now Vote trapped in a 2v1. The wave comes through from a Charon to support, and Vote has to beat and leap away. Comes back into the fray, though, does Vote onto Scream with the support of Dardes, and now Nika is at half health looking for an ultimate and finds a stun on 2, but Herman's Peel will force a reset for the time being. It's a 1-for-0 exchange on the left-hand side, but it's the Ravens starting up the Oni Fury.
I think this is the type of fight that the Dragons want. And actually, it's staying leashed with the new up, but it should be dropped now. Unless Nika TP's in and they look to pull it after.
Nika does TP around the back, look for Venenu, doesn't really find the mark for the fog came into play there, but the root does hit Haddix, who teleports to Hammer. Follow up Terra ultimate into play, and now the focus could be towards Hurrywin from Nika. The rest of the Dragons fall back and find Barracuda whittling down their health bars in the back line. The new war ultimate comes through, doesn't do a whole ton, as Haddix takes to the sky, finds the dunk onto the Fury, but doesn't find a target with the CC, and instead loses half his health himself. Meanwhile, Nika on the right goes back in on Venenu, whose ultimate is down, but Venenu a little bit tankier than Nika would like to try and bring him down, but Lasbrid's getting low to Haddix, and Barracuda's bowler will bring him down. Huge engagement, and it's 1-for-0 in favor of the Ravens.
And I think this style of comps that we're seeing is leading us to these not necessarily sloppier, but more just like split up fights.
Yeah.
This is how the Dragons comp is envisioned. You don't want to have 5v5, super grouped, diving 5 people all together. This is what the Dragons prefer. I think this Ravens team needs to kind of slow it down a little bit, start grouping. They did end up getting a pick on Laz at the end there.
Trying to focus on Dardes here, he sees, but the pillar from Vote will prevent Haddix getting in there. Good ultimate coming out from Charon there just to try and slow down the aggression. Scream takes to the sky. Low health bars on a couple of members of the Jade Dragon, specifically Polar Bear Mike, as Vote gets his ultimate off, but into the sky once again goes Haddix. Finds the dunk onto Vote and brings him down with Lasper dead and Vote dead too. Ravens can look for another objective. Is this fire? Is this just pyro? Probably pyro.
I think they're just a little bit too low for a Fire Giant, but I mean, Beacon, there should be Pyro, they should be able to get their resets off and then even head to Gold Fury, so this should be a 3-for-0 on objectives, and then, maybe then, they can start 5-manning and looking for this Fire.
Bobby, at the start of this game and how the first 10-15 minutes went, it felt like an F6 at 10 moment, and then all of a sudden the Ravens' composition is starting to gel together. Now that they've got this Thor in action too, the extra CC is really paying dividends.
Yeah, exactly. They were missing that CC in that 3v3, even when the ADC rotated over. They were really missing some quick, hard CC, and now that they have it, they have a lot more setup, they have a lot more damage, which they never really lacked, but they have damage to follow up. And
look at that difference there. Scream was level 20 before, Lasbro adjusting 20 as well. Shows how the catch-up mechanic can come into play, especially when you're behind. Tier 1 in mid lane does go down for the Dragons there as the Oni minions now spawn. And it's now the dance of the Fire Giant that begins with the Oni being down, the Pyro down too. How does this play out? How do you feel about the FG pit, by the way? Obviously a bit more open these days compared to previous years. Is this harder to control, you think?
I like it. I think it is a little bit more restricting for the defensive team. I think it makes it so there's so many more walls that you kind of have to walk around where there's maybe the entire team is sitting right here.
Yeah.
But it's also, if you have this entire area, it's a lot, I mean to say, it's a lot harder to ward the entire area. So if you don't have good vision as the offensive team pushing into the enemy jungle, it is still very hard to get that, control.
Well, the Titans are now marching down the right-hand side of this map too, the nearest to the Fire Giant as well, which allows everybody just to kind of group on this right-hand side. The Oni minions have been defeated across all lanes, so no pushing in from the left-hand side for them for the Ravens, as now they start up the Fire Giant here. Nika in mid lane, Pele stood on a ward at that tier 2 at the moment that they're not aware of, is giving good vision, and this Fire Giant is dropping low. Mike's on the scene, roots 2, looks towards Barra to slow it down. Already though, the Fire Giant has been destroyed over to the Ravens, and the fight following. Where will the action go to? It's all on Barracuda, who's the focal target, but he will dash away back to safety. The Jade Dragons were just a little bit too late to the party there.
Yeah, I want to highlight, Barra had an absolutely huge Aegis there. If he doesn't Aegis at that time, if he Aegis like a second later, he's dead.
Yep.
That chase probably happens even farther because there's not that threat of damage if they do chase. So really good call by the Ravens. They realize this Jade Dragons team does not have good burst to actually steal this from a range.
Yeah.
People have to get into the pit to steal. So if you just commit to it, say, we're burning it, commit to 700, Nuwa, use your nuke damage, and that's exactly what they did. They secured it and they got out.
It's definitely the issue that we said at the start of this game, though. When you looked at the Dragons comp, do they have the damage throughout this game to kill the backliners? Barracuda surviving there with just an Aegis, and the peel from his teammates was enough to keep him up. They may need more damage as this game goes on, or better fights.
And I really like to highlight also the Charon at this point. That damage, like we've said this entire time, that damage is not too high from the Jade Dragons comp. I mean, we have a breastplate on Dardas. He didn't commit to the full damage. He actually went a little bit more defensive. So you have Charon with Compassion, and then you just have a lot of his protections that he's giving because he committed to that double stacking item build. And then he also just has his kit for that peel. That is a lot of damage that he can soak up and he can take away from his defensive allies. I
think that's the biggest thing from a Charon too, is realizing be aggressive when you're with Charon because he's giving you shields by you attacking and keeping the pressure going. You saw a bit of pressure in the mid lane there, though, from the Dragons, trying to force somebody and find a pick on Scream. Didn't pay off for them as a tier 2 goes down for Ravens. And now Dardes under a bit of pressure, but has Lasbury back up. Scream going to blink in, though, and the dash is already down. Haddix into the sky, looking for a Dardes dunk. Won't find it. Instead, they'll go for Lasbury instead, and turnaround's fair play as Haddix gets credit for the kill. FG still on all 5 members as a tier 2 falls.
It's almost like this Athena is not being utilized with her ultimate like she should be. It's almost like this Thor has more global control at this point than the Athena has, which shouldn't be the case. Haddix is playing this Thor perfectly.
And it's really paying off for the Ravens, who struggled at the start of this game. The final tier 2 tower, the final tower in general, that the Ravens, sorry, that the Dragons had is now fallen. There's no minions here for this, Bobby. This is a bit trickier, is it? Especially with like, EFG.
Nua is the one thing that allows this to be slightly easier, but her minions still kind of get one-shot a little bit. But I like them pressuring here. They don't have to commit. We have all these objectives spawning. Get this gold. You want to be backing and you want to be hitting full build for this next EFG fight, because that's the important thing. Yeah, EFG is the big point.
Minute and a half left on this current FG. I guess the pressure there keeps them out of the jungle for now so they can go for this Gold Fury. And then, as you said, the EFG next up, the Enhanced Fire Gem, which is a lot more brutal these days in terms of what it can bring for these Phoenix Sieges.
Yeah, I mean, EFG is the true way that you can commit to a Phoenix. FG is strong, but it's mostly if you're ahead, you're just going to be able to win a little bit easier. I think EFG is the one that allows you, even if you're even, to be able to commit to the Phoenixes. That 75–80% shred that you have with EFG is just insane.
Not gonna lie, we've seen 3 3-0s so far in the quarterfinals so far this weekend, Bobby. Coming into this, I wasn't sure if this would be as clean as a 3-0. Even Mike himself said 3-1 probably here. This is going to be a big set between these two by how this game one's going.
Yeah, I mean, even 30 minutes into game 1, and we've seen very, very high highs from both teams, and then some pretty bad misplays from both of them. And I think it's got the break. I mean, they had a long break, so they haven't played Smite in a long time. They've been scrimming for however, maybe a week, 2 weeks. So it's going to be some bumps, some bruises, but they have shown these really high highs that I think they want to learn from, and that's what they want to touch on.
Well, this tournament, this whole weekend, is really being played out to work out who's going to be in which division as captains and draft the divisions for the upcoming rest of the season. Haddix in mid a bit overextended here, fully collapsed on by 3 members. Will take to the sky. He's tanky enough with the build he's gone for to stay alive. It cost him his ultimate. Had no beads in that moment. And only, actually, Lasbury's ultimate is the only thing invested there, not as bad as I first thought.
I mean, is Haddix really that tanky, or is maybe the Dragons just don't have enough damage to take him down? He's 5 items deep only. It must just be...
He's a tanky build, to be fair. I mean, Druids, you know, Archdruids, he's got Pridwin, he's got... You know, you don't think so?
I mean, he's tanky,
he should die.
But he should have died there. If that is a mid-lane mage there, he's dying before he hits the air. And I think... Now, this is the point where you want to be using the Athena ultimate, because you have the ability to truly split the map, because you can be everywhere, I mean, all at once, as long as you have an ally near.
Well, the question really is how do the Dragons defend against these sieges that are going to come on? Because Jabalonk's extra range he's going to get from his ultimate allows him to whittle down the Phoenixes out of tower range. You're going to have to dive in with the Athena or the Terror, I guess. They're the only real options to force an engagement.
Yeah, I think the Dragons need to defend this EFG. If EFG is taken by the Ravens, the split potential they have with Kama, who has perma-sustain, Thor can be everywhere, and then they just have Nua minions along with, like you said, the X-Ball ultimate. So we need to see the Dragons commit for this fight here. If they lose this EFG, they're going to be in a really bad spot.
Well, minions are pushed up in mid and right-hand side against the Dragons so far, so if they do lose this EFG, it gets even worse. FG already down to half. Dardes first on the scene, but gets hit by a wall hammer. Haddix straight to the sky. Reset on the FG, though, coming out from Ravens here, as they're going to take the fight and look for Mike. Mike will keep himself sustained as long as he can with a good shell. Dunk comes in as Nika gets a 3-man stun. Chases on towards Veneno on the backside, and they will find the kill on Veneno. Next on the list is going to be Barracuda, and Barracuda falls down too. Scream does at least take down Polar Bear Mike in this, as Hurrywin chases onto Lasbury, but he's all alone. Haddix and Scream out of the fray, and Hurrywin doing what he can, but Lasbury will find the kill on Hurrywin. And now it's just too technical. Frontliners left alive. Scream has to beat and loses Harvey's health to the damage out from the Athena. What a good defense of the FG from Dragons. Was this a mistake from Ravens to take this fight?
I think a lot of it comes to Haddix is forced into the air, and he's forced down to 40% health before the fight even starts. Vote plays that really well. I actually thought it was going to be really bad for the Dragons because Vote double relicked the Karen ult, and there was no follow-up. So Vote just uses both of his relics. But the absolutely huge dash silence by Nika, followed up by his ult, and then followed up Athena on top, and then Pele was followed up even after that. That is the perfect dive that the Dragons want. Even through a bad early portion of that fight, they managed to somehow salvage it and come out on top.
And that was kind of what you were asking for from the Athena, being more aggressive with that ultimate, and that's where the damage is going to come from. Finding Venenu early, then finding both the carries dying back-to-back is the most brutal thing for the Ravens there. And with that, the EFG is going to swing this game back to an, well, technically even point at the moment, just because of the gold starting to reach there, and the towers will come into play. You can see the pings on the left-hand side going for the Gold Fury, which is an Oni Fury. Dragons are going to be the one on the aggressive now. Yeah,
I mean, they're definitely going to be on the aggressive. They have this Oni coming up, but we have a bunch of tier 2s to still go through. This Dragons team was so far ahead, and they only mustered 2 towers pre-33 minutes, so they have a lot of stuff they still have to do. Haddix pretty happily can push up these waves also without too much of a threat. He can waste a lot of time even if he does get gone on.
Well, we've seen him gone on a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
He doesn't even die.
Yeah.
So this Ravens team really has a way to actually outplay this EFG, to not even lose a Phoenix. I don't want the Dragons to fall into this lull that the Ravens are going to try to put them in. I want them to go left and quickly.
Group up left-hand side. Well, first of all, they're going to get the Oni Fury. Now, the next minion wave that spawns will allow for some minion pressure on the right and middle if they do look for left. But you saw the pings in mid lane, first of all, coming through from the Dragons. However, Vote and PBM on the left-hand side. Good wards in the jungle, at least near that tier 2 on the left-hand side, just to give vision of anyone trying to dance around there. But Ravens seem to be happy to surrender this left-hand tower, and even mid, potentially.
I don't expect them to defend any tower until they get to the Phoenix, and then if they try to commit to the Phoenix, that's when the Ravens will put up their defense. And at this point, this Athena can pressure any lane she wants at any point, and Nika's also that same threat. With EFG and Nika's build, he can threaten Phoenixes by himself, and there's not a ton of threat on actually killing him. So I want to see Nika pressure mid, and then Athena can play this middle part with Laz, and it's just whichever lane is losing, that's the one you want to commit to.
Well, it's a 2-2 split with Laz in the jungle so far. Keep an eye on Dalda as it can turn up in any fight, as we were saying, but so can Haddix. So Haddix and Athena keeping track. And you can see the Magi's online for Dardes here, and Haddix trying to burn off that shield if they can to make sure he doesn't have that preventative CC measure.
And Dardes, what he's doing already is just fantastic. All he's doing is proccing reach, using his poly, using Boombas. He's doing 700 damage every time he throws it out with this EFG.
Now minion waves pushing up the left-hand side. Could be a sign for Polar Bear Mike and Vote to get aggressive, but with Barra, Venenu, and Heroin kind of dancing in the middle too. It's a bit of a stance between them both. They are waiting for the Oni minions on the right-hand side to push up a little bit. They should look to bring down some more of that tier 2 tower. But look at that Phoenix in mid. Already whittled down a third with just these reaches.
I mean, he's not even using his poly. His poly is running off by the time he actually throws it. If he just did it a little bit better, timed it a little bit better, it'd be probably under half by now.
Dardes.
Yeah, Dardes.
Yeah, Dardes. Dardes stepping up once again. Will lose his bubble this time round. But there's the proc that Bobby was talking about.
That's that poly.
278 extra damage. Left-hand Phoenix completely fine. EFG's left on for another minute, 18 seconds here. I do feel if the Phoenix falls, though, Bobby, the fight changes completely.
Yeah, I think the Ravens want to commit to this fight. But the Dragons are playing this perfectly where they're not committing anything to poking this down.
Yeah.
It's not like Dardes is getting poked, Nika's not getting poked. So this is just getting played out really well. The Ravens are going to either have to commit outside of the Phoenix, or, I mean, Dardes took a lot of poke there.
He did. He got a dash from Scream. Heroin now trying to prevent Vote and PBM stepping up. They're going to have to fall back. The FG is wearing off momentarily, I want to say, on this Jade Dragons roster, and this middle Phoenix has still stood. That was an EFG that has been defended because Jade Dragons, like you said, would play this very slow. In the jungle, those Scream and Haddix going at it against Dardes and Nika once more. And with Nika in the fray, they're looking at the pick on Scream. Into the sky goes Haddix, though. The ultimate comes out left-hand side. Keep an eye on PBM and Vote trying to go for the Phoenix too, as Nika chases on towards Scream as Dardes falls down. Left-hand Phoenix is getting whittled. EFG still online, actually, at the moment. But it's only half health.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even low. Cern's not going to be able, or Camazot's going to be able to full heal up. And he can actually look to chase out here.
Lasper was out of position. Now with Scream being there, right? But PBM senses it too. Good damage onto him as he leaps into place. Lasper has to ult away. Meanwhile, mid lane, Nika got an opportunity. left alone against poor old Barracuda and will at least make this not completely mistakes for Dragons, because they do get a Phoenix out of this.
I mean, Nika salvages that.
Mike, I don't know about this one.
He's just trying to waste time. He was already dead.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to see him to die.
That's a good way.
It's a support. It's a support. You got to respect him.
It's because you did that thing. That's why you respect
Yeah,
it, right? You're
of
like,
course.
yeah, you know,
That's my
just
7th death that you were talking about. I was doing that.
Number 7. Well, it's only number 3 for Mike this game so far. And now with that, we're going to have a bit of a moment of peace to look at what the next stage of the game is going to be, because EFG is respawn.
And I think he actually committed under tower there to die quicker so he could spawn quicker to get to this EFG. If they didn't kill him there, he actually just is still going to be just walking around, and this EFG is going to be spawning in the next 40 seconds.
Definitely stops them from pushing down mid, potentially getting the Phoenix in return, getting some pressure all over the map. Ward walls will begin around the Pyro and Fire Giant now. Gold Fury is respawning one more time on the left-hand side as well. Won't be the priority target so far.
Yeah, also, Middle Phoenix is not a threat. You can easily push out mid, especially when you have Haddix with the global Thor ult.
True,
so
true.
You're not too worried if you're the Ravens there. It's also something where if there's a 1v1 that happens...
Oh, sneaky. Nika, Lasbra together, gonna go for the end. No one's got
Athena
vision
ult
of FG. Can anyone get
They
back
have
there?
Athena ult too.
They do have the Athena ult as well.
They have the damage.
And the dirty, cheeky backdoor may just pay off. They take the Middle Phoenix, they bait the Ravens to go to EFG, and they will take game 1 with a professional backdoor. Is that what you call that?
That was good.
You like it?
That was good. I liked the use of Athena. They didn't overcommit to even like try to defend the EFG. They just said, we're committing. This is the end that we want. This is the perfect scenario, and they went for it.
You said, though, Middle Phoenix is the easiest one to defend technically. You just keep, you know, Thor there. No one was there.
Yeah, Thor.
No one saw the
Thor
walk down
was
mid
hitting
lane. That's kind of crazy.
Really smart play. I liked that.
I'm okay with it because that was a back and forth encounter where Dragons had the forefront of the game for the first 15 minutes. Second half of the game, Ravens fought back into it and took the lead at certain moments. FG goes the way of Dragons, though, and all of a sudden, the game is over. What do we want to see in terms of improvements for the Dragons and Ravens in Game 2?